I know it's gonna be something because at an early age he was looking at vinyl, old vinyl, and he borrowed like 4 pieces from me, like 16. I still ain't seen that shit. But he give me beats, like this, so.
Where you at?
Put your headphones on, niggas. Quest, what up? Got another one coming.
I noticed a lot of, mainly as far as producers go, there's a lot of more like production teams, like Justice League, Olympics, even when the the Neptunes. What's your taking out? Do you prefer just yourself being a producer solely, or you know what I'm saying? Would you ever consider having like an actual like production team where everybody kind of contributes, like some maybe drums, some maybe chords or something like that? It's almost like a trend I'm starting to see with a lot of these newer artists, like I said, like Justice League, the Olympics. I think the Olympics is like 6 of them. You know what I'm saying? And each one of them has their own, one, okay, I do the drums, okay, I do some strings, and you know what I'm saying, this and that. But before, like Premier, like yourself, and other producers, it was just them. That's it. So I mean, what's your feelings on that? Is it?
I mean, me personally, I would like to do a production team. I mean, like you said, with the production team, like it's like new age bands and all that. Like you got certain people who's good at doing certain things. Like you might have one dude who's good at chopping the shit out of samples. You might have another dude who's good at playing the keys, and another dude who's good on percussion and drums and all that. So like, I think that's good right there. That they got these production teams out there, everybody putting their talents together and creating hits and all that, and crazy ass beats. And the Justice League, like everything that they did for Rick Ross, straight crazy. Like that Maybach music, classic stuff right there.
And now he's working hard with the Olympics, and I think they did mafia music. And that was crazy. Pardon. So, other than these projects, you actually the first project was with Ninth Wonder, right?
Yeah, J Quest vs. Ninth Wonder. At that time, before I actually put that project out, that project originally was going to be a Black Album remix that I was going to do. But then as I started going on the net, I started looking it up. I seen that mad people were starting to do that. As when Jay released some acapellas and all that. So I was like, I had to figure out a way to, I wanted to figure out a way to do something that helped me stand out from everybody else. So I decided, at first, before I was going to do the Ninth Wonder joint, I was actually going to do J Quest vs. The Alchemist.
Okay.
But then I kind of stopped and thought about that, and I was like, yeah, Alchemist out there like that. And at the time, Ninth Wonder was just starting to buzz up. He just did the joint with Merce, the 316. He had a couple other joints that he did, and then he ended in the joint with Jay-Z in that he was doing too. So as he was coming up, I figured, all right, this would be a good opportunity for me to put my beats up against some respected up-and-coming producers like Ninth Wonder, and just see what the response is going to be. So at first, I put it together, I just aimed me for it to take off like how it did. It was just a CD I shot together in like 15 minutes. Just loaded up the MP. I picked I think it was like 20 beats. I did like 20 beats a piece. And I shot it together, got the CDs pressed up, and just started dropping them off at places. I didn't think anybody's gonna catch on to it. Before I knew it, my emails was blowing up, phone was ringing. I'm like, damn. Like, how many people actually got this CD? And before I knew it, I started typing it on the net. The bootleggers started getting their hands on it. That really helped it go out. That really helped it go out more, get out there more. They started pasting up on the sites and all that. There's this other website at the time called freemixtapes.com. They got their hands on it. They posted it up. And there was several other websites that got it. And how I knew that I was really starting to make noise was that there was a hip-hop online magazine out in the UK called the Raglan Magazine. Trickster, somehow he got his hands on it and hit me up, and he wanted to do a review on it. So when he did that, that's when it really started taking off even more. So then we wind up going to the show in Buffalo with Little Brother and Down of the Peoples. I had like a big old duffel bag full of CDs. At first the bouncer was gonna let me in, and he opened it up, see what it was, and he's like, yo, ain't this dude here performing tonight? I said, I think so. So right when we went in there, right when Little Brother was performing, I was handing the CDs out. And people was getting their hands on and everything. And I didn't think that anybody, I didn't think nobody in Buffalo was gonna get back at me like that, because it was so packed in there and everybody moving around. But before I knew it, I had hundreds and hundreds of people out there just hit me up trying to get beats. And at the time, I had more requests for beats than I actually had in my archive of beats. Like Matt Hells was getting at me, and I ain't even had that many beats already in rotation like that. So I was like, damn, how the hell am I keep up with all this? So I kind of just let that buzz drop a little. I kind of fell back from that, and it kind of went out. Then I think like a year later, I wound up doing another verse CD. It was me versus Green Lantern.
Okay. Alright.
I put that out there, and that was getting a big response too. Like people was feeling that. And I wound up dropping 2 more projects after that. That was I had just dropped a strictly instrumental drum with just my stuff on it, hosted by Sky Zoo. That made a little bit of noise. They make too much, but it was making a little bit. And then I dropped another joint called Back on My New York issue after that. And that right there, it kind of buzzed up a little, but it ain't buzzed up like how I wanted it to buzz up. And then I fell back from the instrumental projects for a minute, and that's when I came up with the idea of just doing a compilation. And that's when the Put Your Headphones and all that started coming in, came in playing all that.
Let's get a zoom on those. Alright, next one.
So that's when the idea for doing Put Your Headphones On came in. So I started just making mad beats and just hit mad MCs up. And just started laying down mad songs. And when we was in the process of recording the original Put Your Headphones On, my engineer, his hard drive crashed, we lost all the songs. So we had to go back and remake a lot of them. And on top of that, I lost some of the beats too that I did originally for that. So I just wound up doing a whole bunch of new stuff. And the soundtrack, I wound up dropping the soundtrack, which is this right here. This was gonna be the original Put Your Headphones On album.
Okay.
But I was like, I'm gonna just put something out there because I was taking mad long. It's been a minute since then since I put something out there. So that right there is getting a good response too. Everybody's feeling that. And then I wound up dropping Sampleaholic on CD. It was another CD with a bunch of songs that I did and some unreleased joints.
Okay.
And that was getting a good response too. You can also get this right here on datpiff.com. And this one too, you type that in. If you want the physical, you go to undergroundhiphop.com. You get both of these on there too.
So I mean, from Green Lantern to Ninth Wonder to Sky Zoo, I mean, it's kind of hard to really even see you like local producers. I mean, your work is expanded beyond the 585. So I mean, it's definitely been in this game for how long have you been in the game?
Been making beats since I want to say early 2000.
Early 2000.
When I first started out doing beats, I started out playing keys. Yeah, I had a brother Sight. He had this little cheap Casio keyboard.
I think everybody started out.
Yeah, a cheap Casio keyboard. It was funny though how it started because I remember the day that when I first actually started messing around with it, it was just summer. It was in the summer. And I was just bored as hell. I had nothing to do. So I just turned it on, started pressing the keys and all that junk. And just creating little rhythms and all that, and caught on to it and learned the keyboard inside out and all that. And then I originally moved in it. I was just playing out a lot of original stuff. Had some whack ass drums. Like I really ain't know too much of what I was doing when it came to drums. Like I be playing double snares and all that. I didn't know what to kick it. I didn't really know like all the instruments and all that. And then, later on I moved up to the Yamaha DJX2, which introduced me to sampling. I was playing around with that, and it had the sample button on it. And I had Cannabis CD playing the song I Honor You. And I pressed the sampling button, and it picked up a little guitar in the beginning of it. And as I was pressing the keys, the damn guitar was playing. So I thought my CD was fucked up for a second. So I'm like, damn. Every time I'm pressing this shit, I'm like, what the hell just happened? So I'm sitting there scratching my head trying to figure it out. Then I caught on to it. I noticed that it was picking up the audio signal from the CD onto the keyboard. And that's how I got introduced to sampling and all that. And the thing was, like, what I tell a lot of people, like, when I first started out with sampling and all that, I actually learned how to chop up samples before I actually learned how to loop. Like, I didn't know what a loop was at all.
Okay.
I just adapted to just catching little pieces and just playing stuff out from there. Like the actual joint that I actually looped for the first time was a Michael Jackson sample. That's when I moved up to the Makai S20. That's a little cheap version of the MPC 1000. Shit had no metronome or nothing. Like, you had to play everything out. Like, however long you wanted the beat to play, that's how long you had to sit there and play your drums and all that. And if you messed up, it was a wrap.
Yeah. So how old were you when you first with the Casio keyboard?
About 13.
So like now, as far as what type of equipment do you really like to utilize now when you're making a beat?
Like now,
still using the MPs?
like, I kind of fell back from the MP now, moved up to the machine. So like, anybody who uses it on the MPC, like, if you decide to upgrade, the machine is the way to go, because as of right now, that's the closest to an MPC you're gonna get right now.
Okay.
Like, it's basically almost the same thing.
Okay. Is it a cheaper route, or is it just more user friendly than an MP? Or I mean, I see some kids when they get on the MP, they treat it like it's a drum set. Then you see people sitting in front of the MP, they just sit there for like a half hour. Stuck. Like me, you put me in front of the MP, I'm like, where the keyboard at, man? That's it. Because I when I first got into music, I started out trying to make beats, and all I had was this big ass Yamaha keyboard. I don't even know what it was, and a karaoke machine. And somehow we figured out we had to get some input jacks where we actually use the auxiliary outputs and plug it in through the mic output in the karaoke machine. So what I would do is I would put in one blank tape, do one track with just the drums, take that tape out, put it in the play one, take another blank tape out, and play the drum, record that, and then play my keys, and I would just switch it back and forth until I had a beat. But I had the same thing, like however long I wanted to beat was how long I had to play.
Yeah.
That's how I started out. So I know what it's like starting with the Casio keyboards, but when you got a love for music, it's like shit, you make it work.
When I got introduced to the MPC, my man Divine God Law, he was actually teaching me how to use the original 2000. So I was messing with that for a minute. Like, that was a relief with the metronome and all that. Like, you just set up the number of bars you want to play. If you mess up, you just go back. So I was sitting, that was the summer of 02. I was just sitting, he used to just let me come over, just sample stuff, chop it up, play everything out and all that. And I was like, damn, I can't wait till I turn 16 so I can just get a job, save up, count my MP. Like, at the time, like, this was back in 03, when I got my first job at McDonald's, like, I was putting in mad hours just to save up to get that shit. Like, they trying to fire me because I was working so much. I'm like, the fuck you gonna fire me for working?
Fire you because you were working too much.
Yeah, I'm like, come on. Like, anybody felt like leaving the job, like 10, 15, I pick up your time, shit, I'm trying to get the MP. Because at that time, everybody was 16, they was getting their first job to save up for a whip. Me, I was trying to save up for MP. Yeah. I already knew what I was gonna do.
Yeah.
So,